y'all. Welcome to episode 1 of The Setup. Pray for us, guys. This is episode 1 of The Setup. Life after I do with the Mayberries. Oh, yes. And tonight's topic is baggage claim. Coming into your marriage with baggage. Listen, the purpose of the setup is for us to just tell you guys a little bit about our story, who we are, how we met, all of that good stuff, how we've survived, everything that we've experienced over the last 14 years of marriage, and provide you with a little wisdom. Maybe you can learn something, you get some free lessons from some of our suffering. We suffered so that you don't have to suffer. So that is why we are here with you guys tonight. So we are talking about baggage. And oh my goodness, did she come in this marriage with a lot of baggage?
No.
I mean, fellas, you just got to be ready, because I didn't know all of the stuff that she was coming into this marriage with when we first got married, or when we were dating. And then got engaged and then got into the marriage. But as soon as we said I do, it's like that closet busted open and there we have it. So we're going to talk about it tonight.
First of all, let's just get an understanding. I did not have a lot of baggage.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
Tell them what you want.
Don't start lying.
Okay.
Whatever.
We're gonna uncover it. Hopefully she's honest tonight and I don't have to tell it for her. But we're going to talk about it. So, fellas, imagine you're standing at the altar and all you can see is your beautiful bride-to-be walking down that aisle, draped in that pretty white dress.
My dress was not white.
Because she was filthy. That's the sign of the baggage. Her dress was not white because she wasn't pure. And I didn't know that.
It was pearl.
It was pearl. It was a little off-white. So imagine you standing at the altar and all you see is your bride-to-be, your beautiful prize, coming down that aisle in her pearl dress, white dress, off-white, cream, whatever it was. And that's all you can see. You are just standing in total awe of the moment. You are caught up in the moment. What's about to happen? You're about to enter into this life-changing covenant. You're excited. You got all your family, your friends there. And all you are thinking about is the excitement of the moment, all of the adrenaline that's rushing through your body. And, that's all you're thinking about. That's all you see. What you don't see is all the luggage that she's carrying down the aisle with her.
What's the reason why you ain't thinking about it? Because you're thinking about sex.
You are not. That's not necessarily true.
You're thinking about the honeymoon.
I don't think so. I was terrified.
Well, I was thinking about the honeymoon.
I was standing at that altar thinking, what the hell? What am I doing? What in the world am I doing?
Okay.
That's what I was thinking about. I wasn't thinking about the honeymoon.
No, but that is still good. That's still true, though. Some people don't pay attention to the baggage because they're thinking about sex.
Well, that is true. They're thinking about sex, or they're thinking about, because that's why some people get married.
Right.
But that wasn't our case. At least that wasn't it for me. I mean, I'm not going to spend the whole episode talking about my testimony and my baggage, because I think I've done that plenty of times. But when we entered into marriage, I saw my beautiful bride-to-be coming down the aisle. I didn't see her baggage because, quite honestly, all of my baggage was what was running through my mind.
Okay.
If I'm honest about it.
Okay.
My stuff was running through my mind.
Which proves that I didn't have baggage.
Shut up.
I wasn't focused on
You'll have your turn. I'm going to tell on me and you're going to tell on you. I was focused on my baggage. I was thinking, how in the world am I going to do this? I was still battling with my sexuality and some other issues. I was battling with my self-esteem. At the time, I was still a virgin. I had never been in love or attracted to another woman. So this was all very new to me. It was scary. I literally remember standing at the altar almost passing out. Like, I think I stopped breathing for a few minutes because I was like, well, there's nowhere for me to run. I genuinely love her, but do I really want to put her through this? because I knew what was still running through my heart, running through my soul. I knew what I was walking into this marriage with.
Yeah.
The problem was I felt like once we said I do and got to the honeymoon, it was going to fix everything. You know, like maybe everything that I'm struggling with, dealing with, experiencing, maybe it's going to go away. Maybe getting married is going to fix it. And of course, that's not what happened.
No.
It actually almost ruined us very early on.
Yeah.
We were talking about it earlier this week, and there was an instance that I reminded her of early on in our marriage that she does not remember, but it was the first, like I think it was the first time that I got caught in my mess. The first time that she found out I was in some mess. I messed around and went inside the CVS and left my phone in the car with her. And I left my phone in the car with her and got a phone call while I was in the store, and the rest was history. And she doesn't remember that, but I remember it because I felt like my world was crumbling. I felt like there was no hiding anymore. I felt like there was nothing I could do. And as we started to deal with that, I just remember her being so hurt. Like I remember her being so incredibly like crushed and even asking me like, you know, is it me? What is it about me? Do I not make you happy? And I had to just be honest with her and let her know I brought this into the marriage. It has nothing to do with you and everything to do with the fact that I just did not unpack these bags and deal with it before I said I do and before I committed, made this lifelong commitment to you. So that is what almost destroyed our marriage early on. I mean, I came into the marriage with low self-esteem. I came into the marriage with fear. I came into the marriage needy. I came into the marriage rejected and abandoned and confused in every possible way. And so that's a recipe for disaster right there. I would tell anybody, don't do what I did. Obviously, you know, 14 years later, I'm happily married. I love my wife. I'm glad that I did it. I'm glad that we suffered through it, and I'm glad that we made it. But I would not tell anybody to do what I did. I would tell you to get that stuff in order before you make that lifelong commitment to somebody. Some things it's inevitable. You're not going to unpack until you get married. Until that first year of marriage, it's not going to be exposed. But there are some things that you should be diligent about closing and dealing with before you bring somebody else into your world.
Yeah, because I think what happens is with his baggage, I'm just joking. I did have baggage.
Yeah, good. I know you're going to talk about it too.
But one of mine was I was very cold. Mm-hmm. Right. Don't you do that.
Okay.
Probably more me being very cold was because I was raised by very strong women. Very, not masculine, very controlling women.
Big back, you ain't gonna run me type of women.
Very dominant women. And so they ran the household. So I think, when I got married, I didn't know that that wasn't how you're supposed to treat your spouse. Yeah. And so it took me years of realizing how my baggage was hurting him with his rejection, his low self-esteem, and how me being so just cold, like not caring, not patient, not loving.
My rejection and her lack of affection clashed.
Yeah, it clashed. And so it became very toxic, very damaging for each other, because it's impossible for you to help me and for me to help you. Yeah. And so one of the things that, when we say baggage claim, you have to claim your baggage. Yeah. And so that was something we had to realize, maybe probably like 6 years. We were married maybe 5 or 6 years. Yeah. I think
it was, probably 6 years.
Yeah, we had to admit to what the problem was.
Absolutely.
It wasn't that we didn't
love each other.
Well, I'd already
admitted mine. Your pride wouldn't let you admit yours.
Well, because in my defense,
tell them that
I was ready to fight you.
No, tell them my name is Shakitha, and
my name is Shakitha.
I was full of pride,
and I was not full of pride.
Oh my!
I was full of self-protection.
Oh my God, it's pride.
So self-protection,
whatever you want to call it.
No, but I think what happens is, as women, when we get married, if you don't grow up with a father in a household, you still have those insecurities and different things as a little girl. And so you're asking your husband to take the place of your father, which is unfair.
That's good.
Instead of him being your husband, now you're asking him to treat you like he's your daughter.
That's good.
And so it was a lot of that going back and forth because I wanted him to be my father instead of me focusing on him being my husband.
That's good. And I think the thing for me was I wanted her to give me that affection that my mom couldn't really give me. And I love my mother. My mother did the best that she. That is my water.
No, it's not.
Your water is right there.
I'm going to drink it because it's close.
Baggage. But I wanted her to respond to my need for love and affection and to be affirmed. And, you know, I wanted her to give me what I felt like I was missing. I wanted her to complete me in that way.
And that was unfair.
Yeah,
that is unfair.
It was.
And so when you have a spouse who suffers, and I say suffer because it's almost like it's something that kills the individual.
Yeah.
That suffers from any form of addiction.
Yeah.
Any form of, low self-esteem, this is suffering because they have been living years of being incomplete.
Yeah.
And so they are suffering. They're looking for everything that could possibly feel them, that can heal them.
Absolutely.
And so when you get married, you look for your spouse does, bring areas of healing, but you cannot make your spouse God.
Yeah, and you can't make your spouse pay for what somebody else didn't give you.
Like what somebody else didn't give you. It's not my fault that his mother wasn't capable at the moment. She's an amazing woman. And it's not his fault that I don't know who my father is.
Yeah.
So I had to realize that, the years of, trying to treat him, or basically my frustration and me being upset because my father is not there, how that created a baggage to where, because I can't yell at my actual father, I take it out on my husband because he's the next representation of a man in my life.
Yeah, she even tried to jump me.
I did. I was very physical, but that goes back into the nature of how we are raised when we're kids, and then you have two adults bringing their different environments, their learned behavior into one household.
Ooh-wee.
And so when you have baggage claim, your baggage claim actually started and was basically cultivated.
I think it starts at the altar. So your baggage is cultivated from the time you were born. So your bags are being filled up from the time you were born.
Right.
When we say baggage claim, you start claiming your baggage at the altar, because not only do I have to claim and own up to mine, but when we grab hands, we're not just exchanging rings, we're exchanging bags.
But that's almost like a soul tie thing.
Yes.
Too. Because it's almost like, the same thing to where two people can have sexual soul ties, emotional soul ties.
Yes.
It becomes a soul tie. And so what happens is our demons begin to feed off of each other.
Yes.
And so my rejection started feeding off your rejection, your isolation. I wasn't a very isolated person, but
no, you weren't.
No, but my point is like, so it starts feeding off of each other.
Yeah.
And it created an environment where we were not enjoying marriage.
It was extremely toxic. Our dysfunction started attacking one another,
Oh yeah.
My dysfunction started attacking you, yours started attacking me.
Oh yeah.
And that first few years, it just created an extremely toxic environment because the other person's bags and the other person's dysfunctions are going to start provoking what's in you.
So what it was is I was able to start nitpicking. Like I know if I say this, it could trigger him. And so one of the things we talked about is triggers, how we don't realize that when you are living with the individual, that individual has the ability to create, to point or pick at those triggers that are in you. And so
give them an example of picking. How did you pick at me?
There are so many
first
things.
apartment over on 68th 6852 South on Jeffrey Boulevard, apartment number 2.
What did I do?
You hit me. And you knew that it was in my bloodline.
You cannot keep telling these people I beat you.
She hit me. She hit me, and she knew that I was a man of God. I was a man of integrity. She knew I wasn't going to hit her back. But she also knew that my father was extremely abusive toward my mother. So that's another thing that was in that bag. That was in one of them garbage bags that I brought into this marriage. That spirit of abuse was deep down in there somewhere. Yeah. And if you pick at it long enough, it's going to come out on you. So that demon in her started provoking that demon in me, and she knew that I would not respond.
I think that night was it was a manifestation because of my own personal hurt, not because of what he did. I mean, it added to it because it was like another thing to where another man, a male, had basically lied to me. Yeah. And so all of that, of years of experiencing that, was basically came out in one night towards him. Yeah. Because at the moment, did you do anything? I don't think
I did anything. I think I was a perfect angel. I was walking around the house trying to comply with everything.
The thing about you is that you lie too much. Oh, you're not a perfect angel.
You think I won't slap you in this video with all these people watching?
So that's the thing about him. He's a liar.
Did you just call me a liar?
He's not a perfect angel. So in the moment
and you were a pimp.
I was, but that was my mentality.
Drug dealer.
But that was the mentality of we had to find ways to survive. And so if I was going to survive in this marriage or survive, period, like, you're going to have to, listen to what I'm saying. Yeah. But we're getting off track because
we're not. We're talking about your baggage and mine.
Well, it is.
And how to deal with that baggage. And it is baggage. But I think that one of the most important things is that you want to make sure that you close some of those doors before you say, I do. I cannot emphasize that enough.
Yeah. So that's the thing, is how do they close them correctly? Because the thing about it is, we're not saying that you're going to get to the altar and be this perfect individual.
Absolutely.
But you do want to get to the altar and be a submitted and honest person with your spouse. Yeah. That was something I think, and I'm not saying this because I was prideful, but I think I was more open and honest with my stuff. Yeah. Because it was my personality. Yeah. And with him, he wasn't as open as honest because of what? Judgment?
Well, I was ashamed. I was full of shame, full of condemnation. Yeah. I grew up in church, so full of religion. And I just knew that what I was dealing with at the time, I didn't ask for it, but I was ashamed of it because it was there. And so I didn't know what to do with it. So I couldn't be as forthcoming with what was going on in me. But I think one of the things that we need to emphasize is that I think counseling is a very powerful tool before you make this type of commitment. And not just that premarital counseling, but I think some professional individual counseling to help you sort through some of those dysfunctions, some of those issues, some of those problems that you experience before you bring somebody else into your world. It's not going to be perfect even after you say I do. Some things you won't realize until you make that commitment. But we need to be more diligent about handling our business. We talk a lot about credit scores and all of that stuff, and being financially stable and making sure you have a place to stay and all of that. And those things are absolutely necessary. But it's also necessary to make sure that your mind, your emotions, and your soul are all in order before you bring somebody else into that mess that you have brewing and waiting to dump on them. So I just think it's absolutely important to make sure you take care of that. And it's important during the courting and the dating phase that you ask the right questions. Yeah.
I will always say that when women, they say they're dating, I will always ask them, like, what was their struggle? You don't want to just, go to dinner with the perfect person and they talk about all their perfections and all this. To me, I felt like what was huge for us and what actually became the opening of I was identified as a safe place for him, is when he started telling me his story, and my response was, I knew. Yeah. Like, I knew. And so that's the big thing about our marriage.
Yeah, which is why I think we were made for. I just think we were made for each other.
Yeah, you got lucky.
That when you made me that sandwich with that extra ham on it. And sold it to me for the same price that you sold everybody else they sandwich for.
Okay.
I appreciated that. I think that we were made for each other, but we did create a culture of honesty during the dating phase. When we were dating one another, we did start exchanging portions of our story. So she knew a lot. She knew more than I thought she knew. I remember I tried to break up with her once because I just felt bad and I didn't think she knew. But she said, no, I already knew. And as long as you are committed to dealing with it, walking through it, I'm not going to walk out on you. Yeah. And that meant a lot to me. It made me feel like I have a safe place. Yeah. It made me feel like I can actually open up and share these things with her. So it did arm us. Yeah. It armed us enough that when all the other stuff started to manifest and when things started to happen, we weren't totally blindsided.
No, we weren't.
We were able to deal with it.
We were able to deal with it because I realized in those moments, in those 2-3 years of dealing with it, that I had to become, and I always tell, my married friends or my married wives, that you didn't marry an individual to judge them on their mistakes, on what they can't live up to. The moment you start judging your spouse is the moment God stops entrusting you with what he has given you. So I think that, becoming your spouse intercessor and realizing that is the best position, not retaliation, not I'm about to put you out the house, even though, did I put you out?
Did you put me in?
You did. You slept in that van. I didn't put him out. I never put him out. He chose that.
No, I think I chose that. I felt bad. Even in my rebellion, I felt bad.
My point is that you cannot, the moment you start judging your spouse for any form of sin or any mistake they have made, is the moment you have turned your heart towards them. I'm not saying that my response was always perfect, but I am saying that I couldn't give up on him. Yeah. Because I knew that everyone, not necessarily everyone, but those who probably experienced this, their spouse probably gave up on them and everything else. And so I just think that, with baggage claim comes a huge responsibility, but you cannot give up on your spouse regardless of whatever is in the bag.
Yeah, I think that I think starting at the dating phase, you have to make sure that you ask the right questions. You have to make sure that you are not afraid to be open and honest. You have to make sure that you are committed to dealing with your own stuff, dealing with your own issues, being honest about your own dysfunctions. I think you need to be committed to that. And then I think once you all make the decision to say I do and make that lifelong commitment, enter into that covenant, then you are committing to being the intercessor for the other person till death do you part. So knowing everything that you are committed to being this person's prayer warrior, support system, and everything else that they need to make it through whatever it is that they are dealing with. We took divorce off the table in the beginning.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I wanted to go back to that. The moment when we broke up, we were still dating. Yeah. And we broke up for maybe 12 hours, 18 hours. Yeah. Because it was like late.
Well, however long it took for me to get from your house to my house.
Yeah, that's the thing. So we didn't go into it. When we said yes to the war, the battle, the whatever was going to happen. We were going to be in the ring together. Yeah. And so we never stepped outside of the ring, or we never allowed divorce to enter into the ring with us.
Absolutely.
So there was no way. We were not going to. The only way that I would leave him if he did something like rob the bank and get caught.
But the thing is that she was serious about that. And there were moments where I begged her to leave me. I said, just leave. Yeah. Just leave. Why would you want to put up with this? Why would you want to deal with this? I begged her to just walk away and to let me go. And she wouldn't, because we made that commitment to one another that as long as we're willing to fight, as long as you're willing to fight, as long as I'm willing to fight, then divorce is not an option. So I'm committing to carrying your bags, well, carrying my bags and helping you carry yours until we get to where we need to be.
And more so his bags, because
we're just now unpacking her bags. But we spent the first 13 years of our marriage unpacking my bags. Now we're unpacking hers.
No. Yeah, but I don't know. I think that, you know, it's a conversation that needs to be had. I think that I hate the thing of secrets.
Yeah.
When it comes to dating, and so the best thing you can do is be honest with your spouse, even if you have to start now.
Yeah.
Being honest with your spouse, your addictive behavior, your traits, what's in your bag, like.
Yeah. If you are dating somebody and you feel like you got to keep something about you a secret, you don't need to be dating them.
No,
you don't need to be dating anybody.
No.
If you feel like that there are parts of you that you need to keep a secret, and I'm taking this to the grave and nobody can ever know about this, then you don't need to date anybody, because it's inevitable. Yeah. One day, it's going to come out that bag, voluntarily or involuntarily.
Ex-lovers.
Everything. Something is going to fall out that bag.
Kids.
Absolutely.
And so at the end of the day, the overall concept is marriage cannot hide your sin.
No.
It cannot hide what you are trying to, or it cannot cover up.
No.
Like, you cannot just get married and still have all these things under the carpet.
Yeah.
Like, the best thing you can do is become honest with your spouse or with your
Be honest with yourself. Be honest with God. Be honest with your counselor, and be honest with your future mate and your current mate. So for anybody out there, any married couples that's out there, if you are dealing with some issues, if you're dealing with, some baggage, maybe you thought you knew everything and you didn't, and now you're not sure if you should keep pressing on or if you should continue on. Listen, we don't encourage anybody to walk away from a marriage unless it's a dangerous situation or the other person is just unwilling to change and it's just it's a done deal.
Absolutely.
But if you're in an abusive situation or something where you're fighting for your life, then obviously we encourage you to make the best decision to protect yourself. But we don't encourage anybody to walk away without at least making an attempt to fight through it and seeing if this is something that we can continue on with, if we are both willing to fight and to be healed.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fight
so
together.
It's inevitable. You are not going to be able to avoid it. I don't care. Even with the therapy, the prayer, we had deliverance. You roll on the floor, cry it out, cough it out, breathe it out, spit it out, all of that. You are still going to open that closet up, and some bags that maybe you didn't even realize were there are going to fall out. It's all a matter of how you choose to handle it.
Yeah.
So I want to prepare those of you all that are dating, preparing to date, hope to date. It is inevitable. You are going to open that closet and something is going to fall out of there. But be diligent now about being whole. Be diligent now about getting the help that you need. Don't wait for somebody else to complete you. I'm waiting for my better half to come and complete me. No. Go into your marriage, go into this relationship whole, knowing who you are, knowing what you want out of life, knowing what God has called you to do. Go into your marriage with a focused mind, ready to be open and honest about who you are and where you've been, so that you all can make a good life together.
And then for married couples, I would say that one of the things that we also was talking about is how if we didn't deal with those personal things that we're carrying in our baggage or in our bag, how it would have affected our children.
Oh my goodness.
And so we had to realize that, when we, got married, we said we wanted to have all these kids and everything. And I really felt like that in that moment, we were starting to open the bag, not necessarily, deal with what was in the bag, but it was almost an opening, because we had to realize that we're going to start taking on the responsibility of other, our kids' emotions.
Yeah.
And, and so I know that from us experiencing deliverance and being healed from those traumatic experiences as children, our personal children don't have to experience the trauma, the shame, the rejection, because we decided to basically admit what was wrong with us. And so.
Yeah, and when there's a saying that we say, when the parents play, the children pay.
Yeah.
And that is absolutely true. We started to see, and we won't talk about that tonight. We're going to talk about that in another episode, but how our baggage and the things that we refuse to deal with or weren't ready to deal with, how we started to see it manifesting in our children, and how it started to affect them. So that's something else that we're going to talk about and go into, because that's extremely important. Because now it's not just you and your spouse with your baggage, it's you, your spouse, and a little one, or you, your spouse, and a few little ones that have to deal with you and your baggage. And so we're going to talk about that. But the moral of the story tonight is handle your baggage well. Deal with your stuff well. Don't try to sweep it under the rug. Don't try to hide it, put it in the shed, put it in the storage unit, unlock that storage unit, and open those bags up and deal with it. Do you have anything else to say?
No.
You drank my water. You're getting on my nerves. Anything else you want to say?
You need to deal with your baggage.
Right. Deal with your baggage. Deal with these. Love you. We love you guys. Thank you guys for joining the setup. Life After I Do with the Mayberries. We have some more adventures coming for you, so make sure you stay tuned, stay subscribed, and also share these videos with some friends and some family members and tell them to subscribe. Until next time.
Oh my God.
God bless you.
Something is definitely wrong.
And we'll see you soon.
Bye.